Republicans who have either said they're going to retire or not run again. Do you
And
have any
Democrats
concerns
also.
about the
And Democrats
Right.
also.
Do you have
Well,
any?
why don't you mention them? How many Democrats are going to retire? How many Democrats?
Well, that's what I was going to ask you.
But
Do you
why don't
have
you tell me
any
the number of
concerns?
Democrats too? You
Well,
tell me
are
about.
you concerned about the narrow margins? And
No, I'm not concerned. I think we're going to do well.
Is among them, and
We will have the
Nassau
greatest
County
economy.
Visit Blakeman as well. He's considering running for
We're
governor.
going to have the greatest economy in history. How many Democrats are retiring? How come you only know the Republicans but not the
Because
Democrats?
I came prepared to ask you a question about.
No, you're unprepared because you should know the Democrats. You're totally unprepared. Go ahead.
Well, can I ask a quick follow-up about?
Who are you with?
I'm with New York Newsday, and I also have a quick follow-up. Congresswoman Elisa.
Ho, 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 ho. How is it going out there, my fellow world patriots? Interesting how they always have the facts to be against the Republicans, but they don't have to mention how many Democrats are not going to be seeking re-election, which maybe we'll get into that. I don't know if we have that information or not, but that was a nice little clip that was put together by, looks like Mac, and definitely showed some old proofs showing that, you know, those who are not seeking re-election were basically put into submission, if I'm basically putting a little quick ribbon on that one for you. But we do, of course, as it is Monday, we have for you episode 186 of Hold the Line. And I think I mentioned that it's December 8th already, 2025. And I'm still, guys, every time I do a show, I'm like, wow, December 8th already? It seemed like yesterday I was doing a show that was December 1st, right? And it's like time is flying for me. But let's bring in Miss Lisa and Mr. Mac. And Miss Lisa first from across the pond. How is the life treating you over there in the old UK, Lisa? What's going down? Uh-oh, she's being secretive today. See if she's in the room still. Lisa is muted at the moment. Let's see if she sees that. Matt, can you hear me, buddy?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right, let's bring you in first, and we'll see if Lisa's maybe having a microphone issue. But what's going on, brother? How's the weekend? How's everything treating you? What's your comfort level? What's up?
Everything's been going well. Comfort levels obviously increasing every week. It always seems to be. This was very interesting, this video. So hopefully we get Lisa back. But I'm good to be here. Thanks for having us as usual. Thanks to everybody who tunes in. Thanks to the mods. But Lisa might be having technical difficulties. We'll find out here in a sec. But let's get into it whenever you're ready.
Yeah, I think she was dropping us another little a little crumb here for us to go over as well here. I think she just dropped something into the room, but let's see if she's unmiked. Lisa, is the mic working for you now? Ruh-roh. Let me see. I can ask to unmute. There we go. Ask to unmute. There we go.
She gave us a little.
Oh, yeah.
She gave us a message.
Okay.
Well, she said, "Carry on."
Oh, okay.
She'll let us.
All right, she'll figure it out. So she did drop this for us, though, as we going on here. It says, as of December 8th, 2025, a total of 20 Democratic lawmakers in Congress are not seeking re-election in the 2026 elections, according to The Hill. This includes both House Senate members. Specifically, 17 Democratic House incumbents are not running for re-election. 10 are retiring from public office, and 6 are seeking other offices. In the Senate, 4 Democratic senators, Dick Durbin, which is great to see him gone, Gary Peters, Tina Smith, and Jean Shaheen, also another one to see, I mean, all of them great, right, are stepping down. Additionally, Senator Michael Bennet, Democrat, Colorado, is not seeking re-election to the Senate, but is instead running for governor. So you're going to have some of these people kind of switching, you know, like shifted, right, going from congressman to being a senator and whatnot. But it says there 20 Democratic lawmakers, but I'm going to see if maybe that she had dropped also for Republicans. But my guess is it's probably going to be more. But Mac, you got 10 of them retired.
20. I don't know how many total, but 20 Republicans was the question to President Trump. And then I just pulled up a quick AI question to see what the latest is. It's obviously going to be more. I think that you're just hinting at the fact. You mentioned this, and it seems like there's going to be a lot of people from across the board, FBI, DOJ, that have in the past and are going to be resigning, retiring, whatever.
Yes. Yeah, and some of them, you know, those incumbents, right? And so we know about in the past, well, I mean, historically, once you're the incumbent, it's really tough for somebody to. Oh, okay. I see Lisa said she's back in the waiting room, but it's really tough to beat an incumbent. Like once you're in there, they have all the, they already have the name recognition. They already have all this, that, and the other. So it makes it much more difficult for the people that are trying to take out an incumbent. Going. Lisa said she's in the waiting room, but there's nobody in the waiting room. Lisa, are you? Oh, okay. I think that might have been earlier. Let's see. You got your.
Yeah, those were.
She's back in the waiting room. We love this, guys. Let me see. All right, she's clicking back in. So she's coming back in, and we'll let her give a second to get her mics going here, guys. Oh, you know what? Well, while she does that, let me make sure she gets all her stuff going. I did want to put out a little message, and Bree had made this little graphic for this occasion here. And let me just pull this up for everybody. That I would hope that everybody out there can get very loud about this. And here is again the message in full screen, guys. So basically, the call to action is call the White House, leave a message to free Tina Peters, 202-456-6213. I posted that on X and on True Social, tagging President Trump and Dan Scavino as well. So guys, blow up their lines and make it unbearable until they want to get her out of there, or do get her out of there. Let me give a second to see if Lisa. Yep, she's unmuted. What's going on, Lisa? How you doing today?
I'm all right. I'm good. Sorry about that.
She's
There's
back.
a technical problem.
Nah, you're good.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be a Space Shot show without a technical glitch.
Yeah, didn't we discuss this last week about Tina Peters and it being the state?
Yeah, I thought so
a
too.
state affair. So blowing up the White House is good, but maybe you should blow up the state.
Colorado.
Whichever state it is, if we can find that telephone number, that's the one that should be
The
blown
state
up.
needs to get up custody of Tina Peters to the federal whatever. So transfer to prisons, however they want to do it. But that's the only way, apparently, according to the Constitution and going forward, unless there's some other creative way of doing it. But it's yet to be seen.
And I'm over here muted. Only Mac and Lisa could hear me just then. But Lisa, Wheezy had actually did send me this out earlier today, or maybe last night here. So I'm going to read this. And I wasn't even aware of this till Juan told me this yesterday, that apparently Peter Tickton, who is the longtime friend of President Trump, is actually her attorney right now, who's like running the show right here. So it says, this is real application for pardon for Tina Peters. And then the quote is here, and from the letter it says, quote, Dominion and its employees operated an illegal operation on our soil, which was supported and controlled by foreign actors. The Colorado Secretary of State, Jenna Griswold, aided and abetted Dominion and foreign countries in targeting Mesa County Clerk Tina Peters. Clerk Peters' copy of data was lawful, and she was entitled to image and preserve the 2020 election data pursuant to the contract Dominion signed with her as the clerk of Mesa County. Moreover, Clerk Peters was required to preserve the evidence of the election for 22 months pursuant to Federal Law 52 U.S.C. 20701. Clerk Peters' loan copy of the Colorado 2020 election is essential. Moreover, as is explained below regarding current investigations, all right, guys, what's that? Regarding current investigations, Clerk Peters is a necessary and a material witness. She can testify as to the chain of custody, corroborate recent responses to search warrants, etc. Peters Tickton. So here is the letter. I'll drop a copy of this into the chat. Lisa just kind of touched on it a little bit. We'll go with Mac first. But anything you wanted to mention on this? I know you just touched on it as well a little bit. But maybe he can kind of So we know that President Trump is aware of this, right? Because he actually reposted something last week. So isn't there some sort of whistleblower statute that we could, get her out of there? And then maybe, I don't know if they would counter with all right, well, you can come here and depose her or whatever. But there should be some sort of federal whistleblower, especially being under. Did we mention something last week about being under a national emergency, Mac, or something along those lines?
Well, no, we didn't mention anything with the whistleblowing portion, but this whole situation where she got caught doing whatever, they're not mentioning the crimes that she did. You know, she may have attained them legally or illegally. That's the problem here. And the operation to obtain them, that process put her in jail. Now, I don't know who told her to go through that process, but my understanding, she used somebody else's credential to access that information. So by law, that's breaking the law. Now, she probably does have credible evidence, but it just I don't know enough here. This is basically what I'm saying. There's a lot to this particular thing, and Colorado seems to be holding her hostage. So
let me
I'm
give you a
not
little.
sure.
Yeah, let me give you a little bit more too, and then Lisa, if you wanted to add on to this at all, if you want to comment on it. But so from what Juan told me, and this is all right. I'm just gonna go off the memory part. This is not anything Juan told me yesterday, but off of memory, essentially, she had been locked out, essentially, or barred from getting access to the room to basically get the images of the forensic copies of the server, right? And so with his permission, the person that she asked and the key card that she used, while I guess it's probably not legal, he gave her permission to use said key card so she could access the room, as far as I remember it. And the part that Juan did say yesterday was that it was given, she was given permission by the person whose key card she used. Now, again, yeah, we're getting into a little bit of a gray area, but like if you take a step back and look at it, it's like this is a huge, huge thing in our country, and can have huge ramifications going forward, right? If this thing is not straightened out. So, Lisa, and then Mac, if you have anything else that came to mind after Lisa, you can absolutely go ahead. But Lisa, anything else you wanted to mention or talk about on this?
Well, I think that the crime that Dominion committed was a lot bigger, and I'm pretty sure in some other states, you know, they were in breach of their contract and all kinds of different things. So I just wonder, you know, like in a situation like this, normally there would be a plea deal, right? And maybe somebody might get off because their crime was smaller than the bigger crime. And then, you know, President Trump, with his executive orders, and also foreign interference in the elections. I think that's important. So it may be that this is like a bigger case than what we're looking at, as if it's put together, if that makes sense. Because if you were going to present the foreign interference, then you know, you'd have to bring in the Leonardo satellite, the Vatican, and all of the other countries that messed with the election in that year, 2020.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe, and that's quite a lot. That's quite a lot of stuff to put together, you know. But we know that Colorado, you know, they're a bit dodgy. Remember, their Supreme Court voted to take Trump off the ballot, and then he had to go to the federal Supreme Court, I'll call it, to get that corrected. Do you remember that? They all voted to take him off the ballot.
Yeah, I remember the absolute criminals they are. Yeah.
Yeah, so, you know, this is Colorado, and, you know, we have the Denver, Colorado airport, you know, and what's underneath that. And a lot of things going on in Colorado, you know?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And we got
Castle Rock.
Oh yeah, Castle Rock. We got Wheezy in the chat blowing the lead on the next story. I'm just busting her beans. It's all love. She goes, yeah, you forgot the part where I'm like, we're gonna get there, and here it is. Dina Peters' lawyer appeals directly to Trump to make long shot case for pardon. So he did. He said he advanced an untested legal claim for president who has demanded Colorado set former Mesa County clerk free. And by all accounts, you know, the warden of this place is being a complete doink, and you know, put her in solitary confinement because she complained about something. So, you know, pretty disgusting that she's even in jail at all, and then solitary confinement. Like, really, like that's something you do for people who are dangerous, you know.
Yeah.
So they're holding her hostage, essentially.
Yeah,
pretty much.
And we know how human trafficking works and the prison systems and how it's all connected. I think we've covered it before, but this is also exploiting, you know, state versus federal laws. So her being innocent, there has to be a way to get her out, creatively. Is, I guess, what we're looking for. I don't know. Trump's got to get creative, or how it works. It's gonna be interesting. Lisa, what were you?
Yeah, I was just reading that what Wheezy was talking about. That little bit. If you want to read it,
Yeah, definitely. Because I
about
think it gives us,
Tickton.
it definitely gives us a little bit more context. And she is 70 or 71 years old. But what it's being said here by Peter Tickton, and again, longtime friend with President Trump, and Juan said that they were, I think, in the same classroom when Kennedy got shot. But he was basically good friends with President Trump all the way back to military academy. So. In the article, it continues on and says, presidential pardons are understood across legal profession to apply only to federal cases. And that's how I understand it. And that's what has been my response to people that are asking, the last many months. Peters was convicted on state charges, but Tickton claims in the letter that the scope of a president's pardon power, as described in the Constitution, has been broadly misunderstood. He argues that the Constitution's references to the United States apply to the individual states as well as the country as a whole, concluding, quote, the President of the United States has the power to grant a pardon in any of the states of the United States. Tickton acknowledges in the letter that, quote, the question of whether a president can pardon for state offenses has never been raised in any court, but he thinks the U.S. Supreme Court should consider this matter. And we've been getting some out of them lately. Asked about the pardon request, Trump White House official wrote an email. The White House does not comment on potential clemency request. The president is the final decider on all pardons. And so, yeah, I mean, I guess we'd have to look up the actual deal, but this guy's an attorney and he knows stuff better than us. But what do you think, Lisa?
Well, there's a possibility. What does the United States mean? Because it doesn't say the United States of America. It says the United States. So united means, like together, the states together. It may not be the United States of America, meaning just America.
I was looking for like a single phrase or something like that. There's no exact, but key elements of pardon and phrasing references the power under Article 2, Section 2, Clause 1. So maybe we would have to read that. Quote, now and therefore, I, Gerald Ford, the President of the United States, by virtue of the authority vested in me by the Constitution, hereby grant to Richard Nixon against the United States. So it's interesting, right? It's like, what was his crime for? Nixon, like against the whole country? Or was it like the whole, states? Or, if it's the whole country, it's like kind of like what Lisa's saying, the United States. Pull up Section 2, Clause 1, Constitution. That says it. Has anything else jumping out?
I think the Supreme Court's gonna have to decide on this.
Yeah.
And fast, hopefully.
Right. Clause 1. Text of it. Congress. Right, Section 1. Executive power shall be vested in a president of the United States of America. He shall hold his office during terms of 4 years. Okay, this is. All right, here we go. Persons voted for. So this is the pardon section. What was it? Section 2, Clause 2? Article 2, Section 2, Clause 1. President shall be commander of the army and the militia called into. All right, and he shall have power to grant reprieve pardons for offenses against the United States, except in cases of impeachment. So that's where it kind of is all going to come down to, right? Like right here, for all pardons against the United States.
Interesting.
Right?
Yeah.
like Lisa says,
then they have
all
to
the states
define.
together. Yeah.
Yeah, they have to define it.
So how do you define in Black's Law Dictionary the United States?
What impact?
Yeah, but
Go ahead, Lisa.
go ahead. No. Go ahead, Mac.
There's a delay. I was just going to ask you all, what do you think the impact will be in that definition of past, laws created and so forth? Is this addressing the corporation? I find it interesting. I don't know.
Well, I think the Supreme Court have been doing a good job of looking at past precedents and putting it right. Because some things have just been accepted, like the Chevron and Roe versus Wade and stuff like that. Where it's like somebody's spun a narrative that Roe versus Wade was actually part of the Constitution, and it like never was. Um, then with the what is it, the Chevron Act or something like that? Where the federal government were kind of divesting authority to these quasi-government organizations, and it's like, no, they're not the law. The SEC was decided that it was going to have judges internally so that it became judge and jury. And it's like they were doing that for a long time. But, more recently, the Supreme Court have ruled that no, people should have due process. So what happened was the SEC, if they accused you of something, then according to the SEC, you were guilty, and they use their own judges internally. When really they should have been using judges that are part of the what do you call it? The legal, the general public legal system. It was an internal thing that they were doing. They have the court internally. They have the judges internally, so that you were guilty as soon as they accused you of something, and that was denying you due process. And that was going on for years until they stopped it, maybe a couple of years ago, only a few years ago. So there's a lot of things like that, and I think that the Supreme Court are determined to do a good job. I'm pretty sure somebody said about looking at the precedents that have been used, because they haven't always been right. They haven't always been right. So yeah, Mac, they normally go off precedents, like precedent, like previous cases, but some of those previous cases just have not been right. So they have to kind of, look at it again. Remember looking at the president's powers a couple of years ago, was it? When they ruled in favor of President Trump? And what the president can and can't do, what the president's response or what he can be held accountable for, and things like that. And they talked about, there's loads of kind of onion layers that protect the president to a certain degree, except for with impeachment, But impeachment, there is a due process that's supposed to happen, And I think in at least one incident, where Judge Roberts, or Chief Justice Roberts, excused himself and didn't run the case. I think that was a lack of due process. He should have, yeah, absolutely. He should have presided over that, or they should have figured something else out. But anyway, yeah. So they could go either way, Mac. It could go either way. I'm not sure.
I came across a little bit of information. I put the link at the bottom of the chat. It's to go along with what you were showing about Black's Law, so with the definition here. So I'll let you cover this, and then it's interesting. So I don't know if it's interesting to you guys or anything new.
Take a look at it for sure. And hopefully I just switched over my mic to a different thing, and I'm hearing that that my mic is essentially cutting out, but I have basically a thing so you guys don't hear the fan on my my laptop and stuff. That's turned off, and hopefully I'm not cutting out anymore. But Black's Law Dictionary defines the United States in multiple ways as a sovereign entity, then the territory under its sovereignty, or the collective name for the states united under the Constitution. acknowledging its multifaceted meaning in law. So take that for what it's worth, but I think it does and is going to have to come back to Supreme Court if they're going to go on that way. But then they would have to have like an emergency rush thing on that one, no?
So I asked this question, and I found it very interesting, the response. And I'm not sure, I don't know anything about this, and I'll leave it to you all to educate us all.
Are U.S. territories protected by the Constitution? Constitutional protection of U.S. territories depends on whether they are classified as an incorporated or unincorporated territories. Ah, interesting. So business or no business? The U.S. Constitution applies fully and automatically only to incorporated territories, which are considered an integral part to the United States. However, all currently inhabited U.S. territories, American Samoa, Guam, the Northern Mariana Islands, Puerto Rico, they're all classified as unincorporated territories. In these unincorporated territories, these full protections of the Constitution do not apply. Weird, right? What do you guys think?
No, I think that's about correct. Because it's not to do with like they're not talking about like an incorporated company. They're talking about incorporated into the United States, and like what is it? Is it Hawaii that's like an occupied territory? So it's not
Something of the
run
sort,
by the
yeah.
United States. It would be kind of if they're occupied, then wouldn't it be like under some kind of international law? Like the law of war or something like that, rather than the U.S. Constitution. I can understand that. Why would they? Because if something's covered under the law of war, then they have to go by the local civil laws, I believe. Yeah,
Yeah, it's
they
interesting.
have to preserve that because that's what the people deserve if they're not an enemy. So if they haven't picked up weapons, then part of the law of war says that they must preserve the legal system.
Yeah, I just find it so interesting that it's the businesses, right? It's like they're incorporated. Are you incorporated business?
Yeah, but I don't think it. I'm not sure incorporated means that's what I said. The same as business in this situation. Like, is it incorporated as an? Is it an integral part, or is it integrated with the United States? I think that's what incorporated means in this situation. I could be wrong, but instead of incorporating a company, it is similar, but you've got to think about the United States being an entity. And like say, there'd be a process if they were to make Canada the 51st state or something like that. They haven't gone through that. Like there's been no vote or whatever.
Yeah, Lisa, you're correct. It explains it a little further. It's considered an integral part of the United States and full Constitution applies. I just found it really interesting because in that process of defining the United States, it would have to encompass the Constitution. So what outside the United States of America would that apply to? So there would be some exceptions, I guess. And it's a larger scope than we thought.
Yeah, does that confirm potentially that it means the states united together rather than the United States of America, which is like the whole continent, if that makes sense? You know what I mean?
Kind of like when they changed the Constitution.
It might do.
Remember that?
Sorry?
Remember when they changed the Constitution? What did they change? The word of and or something like that?
It was for like the United States for America instead of, I believe.
Weird things they did, all business related. And guys, we're going to stick on the constitutional, or rather the Supreme Court side of things. And Lisa, if you want to mute your little crinkly over there when you're digging in when you're not talking. So here we go.
And agencies are not accountable to the people. They're not elected. as Congress and the president are, and are exercising massive power over individual liberty and billion-dollar industries, whether it's the FCC or the FTC or whatever.
Thoughts on Kavanaugh's words, Jonathan?
Well, both Kavanaugh and Alito really made short work of those defending this law. They kept on presenting hypotheticals, what they called hard hypotheticals, of where does this take you? Both of them said, well, can you just go ahead and make any cabinet department an independent commission? Can you specify just one commissioner? Can you make their length in office 20 years? All of those questions left the other side floundering. The best that they could say at points was, well, if something like that happens, you could come back and look at it. Well, the justices are looking at it now. And one of the things that should be unnerving is that those justices that normally form an alliance in these cases with the left of the court were not there today. Chief Justice Roberts really stomped on Humphrey's estate and said that it was basically a desiccated or dried up precedent. Justice Barrett said these commissions don't look anything like what existed at the time of some of these earlier cases. So that's not a good omen if you want Humphrey's estate to live to 91.
All right.
So very interesting, guys. So they're talking about this thing, and it's independent commission. And Lisa, I gotta say, it sounds eerily very similar to the whole Chevron thing that you were just describing. Essentially, what they were doing were getting they were getting these like with departments or independent commissions or whatever you want to call them, and they were not getting confirmed by Congress and not put in the original way. And they're essentially trying to everything they can do is to basically put Trump out of business, right? But it's just
like Jack White.
Yeah.
Is it Jack White? Like
Jack
the way
Smith,
that
Lisa.
Jack
I know
Smith.
it every time.
I can never get it right. I call him Jack Black, But yeah, they've often just ignored due process. There's always a process for everything that's being done, and appointing. Well, it's not investigator general or somebody like that. But anyway, the appointments have to be done through a particular process, and they haven't done that. And these kind of commissions, it's like it means that they can basically I'm not saying lawfully, but what they've been doing, they've been using them to kind of attack President Trump, because really what it does is attack his authority as the president. Do you see what I mean? And I think that's what they're going to find, and that's what they're getting at. That's why I'm saying the Supreme Court are looking at these things, and they're determined to sort them out, because unfortunately the Dems, they brought this up. They're the ones that brought it up by questioning President Trump's powers, when they hadn't questioned the powers of any other president. So they went through it with a fine-tooth comb. And I remember everything that Kavanaugh said, and Gorsuch and Alito as well. And, they talked about all of these onion layers which give the president his powers. And these commissions and all these other things, they're there to kind of curtail the president's powers, if you ask me. Like putting somebody in a job for like 20 years. It's like, no, the president should appoint these people, Or when they were formed, like say the, what's it called, like the Federal Reserve. I'm pretty sure it's the Federal Reserve that the president needs to appoint 4 different people to the board. And for years, maybe more than 8 years, they only had 3 people on the board instead of 7. You see what I mean? And things like that. They've just gone by the wayside. They've just been overlooked, I think. And I like the fact that the Supreme Court are tackling this. I really do. I'd like to hear Clarence Thomas on this one. I'd just like to hear from the constitutionalists, because they've got to sort it out. They've got to sort it out. And fortunately, the Democrats they're the ones that brought this up, really, you know, in weaponizing the legal system and attacking President Trump and all of that. And it's like, does he have the power? And it's like, you'd be shocked about how much power the president actually has, you know? And they've never questioned it before.
Exactly.
This is the first time that they're questioning it. Sorry, go ahead, Mike.
No, I said exactly, and that's why we know we're in some sort of war. Because how could you be that dumb to question like the president's powers or need clarification so much when they obviously don't want it to happen? So, you know, as soon as they rule on something it's not in Trump's favor, they'll try to overturn it with the next chance they get when they're back in power. So, you know, if it comes up to their advantage. But yeah,
Well,
I've never seen the Constitution attacked so much in my entire life, and I don't know. I'm not that old, but I'm sure there's some older people out there who probably feel the same way.
Well, didn't they admit recently that they want to pack out the Supreme Court again? You know, with I don't know how many judges, and that's the reason. That's the reason. I think they know they're cooked when it comes to the Constitution because of what you just said, Mike. You know,
Big time.
Okay.
And so, might be Nostradamus here. Actually, as we have it, we have another thing talking about the board able to justices hearing the case on executive authority amid Trump's firing of FTC commissioner. Well, which one blew up out of all these people and had an issue with what they're doing?
Tanya Jackson.
By bottom right.
and what's the other one? Sotomayor, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Well. You know,
fourth from the top left.
All right, but actually, let me rephrase the question. So this video is one of these Supreme Court justices goes off about over usage of what they're calling a fourth branch of government, how they should not be doing. Changes things up, doesn't it?
Kavanaugh.
Nope.
Kavanaugh, Alito, Gorsuch, or even Thomas.
Gorsuch. All right, let's take a listen here. This is 5 minutes, but we're not going to do the whole 5-bit. But
he's good.
Oh yeah, we'll see. Yeah, if it's we'll let it roll.
Just want to explore just for a brief minute, I hope, your scintilla of conclusive and preclusive power theory. You agree, I assume, the president is vested with all the executive power.
Yes.
You agree that he has a duty to faithfully execute all the laws.
Yes.
Civil and criminal.
We agree that the Constitution imposes on the president a duty to faithfully execute the laws.
All the laws.
Well,
some laws he doesn't have to. That'd be news to our friends across the street.
The take care clause is a duty, and it is also a power. But the text of the clause does not provide that the president must have at-will presidential.
I didn't ask that. Does he have a duty to faithfully execute all the laws?
We know from.
Yes or no?
I would say no in the sense.
No.
In the sense that let me. There's two different questions, and I want to make sure that I'm answering the question.
The question is, does the president have a duty to faithfully execute all the laws? The answer is no. Why?
So he can't break the law for sure. For sure. Does he have to be vested with statutory authority to actually directly enforce, or to exercise?
I'm not asking whether he has to bring the indictment. I'm asking whether he has a duty to faithfully execute the laws.
I think the president does not, under both history and tradition, have to have plenary power of supervision. But in the case of the FTC, he does have some power of supervision, including if there's a demonstrable, palpable violation of law, the president could absolutely fire a commissioner of the FTC under the plain language of the statute.
So the answer is no, I guess. But you say that he has to have direct supervision and removal authority for someone who has conclusive and exclusive authority to bring criminal prosecutions, right?
That is our understanding of this court's decision in Trump v. United States.
That's your understanding?
Yes.
But not civil?
That's right. And to go back to earlier...
And then just to be clear, So that means if the government wants to bring a misdemeanor, that person has to be reportable to the president. But if the government wants to bring ruinous fines and penalties and injunctions, that person doesn't.
I don't know the scope of this court's holding in Trump v. United States.
I'm asking you for your theory, because it's a very interesting theory. You're building off of two words from Trump versus United States and putting a gloss on it that I'm not familiar with. I'd understood the executive power, and he has preclusive authority of that. But this line, I don't know where it comes from. And I'm wondering, I'll be honest, I'll put my cards on the table. Maybe it's a recognition that Humphrey's executor was poorly reasoned, and that there is no such thing in our constitutional order as a fourth branch of government that's quasi-judicial and quasi-legislative. Maybe you're trying to backfill it with a better new theory that itself recognizes that we've got a problem.
The theory that we are referring to, Justice Gorsuch, as we understand it, is not just based on this court's recent decision in Trump v. United States. It goes all the way back to Marbury v. Madison. And Marbury does not use the term conclusive and preclusive, but it absolutely says—
And neither does Humphreys. It uses quasi things.
It talks about the distinction between authorities that are vested in the president and the president's powers in the constitutional sense, and executive power in the constitutional sense. And it actually cites Marbury v. Madison for that.
Oh, sure, I would hope it would.
For that proposition. Yeah. And Marbury itself distinguishes in the context of removability of federal offices.
I guess I'm just wondering, are we going to get, if we take your theory to backfill Humphreys and go down this road, how are we supposed to decide which powers are exclusive and for your purposes, as you understand it, not as I understand it from Trump v. the United States, but as you understand it, what powers are going to fall in and what going to fall out? Are we going to have just as much litigation over that as anything else we might do in this case?
I don't think so. We've had this modern era of traditional independent agencies for a long time. We haven't had any precedent ever striking them down. And this court has not been, as far as I know, overwhelmed with difficult questions of line drawing. In fact, from 1935 to 2025, we had pretty much unanimity among courts that traditional independent agencies are fine. To go back to—
You haven't had a lot of litigation over Humphreys and its limits and its boundaries. And I mean, seal of law, you invoke it as a great decision. We've had a lot of litigation.
We do invoke seal of law as a great decision.
We're always going to have litigation over the separation of powers, aren't we?
There will always be litigation, yeah. Absolutely. But the point is that this court's precedents affirming Congress's authority to work with presidents to create traditional independent agencies has not generated any significant problems, still less insurmountable problems.
Thank you.
Well, that was pretty interesting, and it shows you, how these people think. And I love the fact that, like, when Gorsuch starts talking, the guy's like, up. He just zips it immediately because he knows he doesn't want to hear anything else. But it's interesting the way they look at it. And you had mentioned, you said got him, Mac. What was that about?
Oh, he just broke it down. What the actual definition was. Like, the guy was saying no, the president doesn't have to follow the law. He's like, all right. And then he's like, well, my interpretation is, and he totally stumped him. It was great. And the guy just keeps backtracking.
And President Trump being the kind of number one lawman, and he does have a duty to apply the law, civil and criminal, because he's the number one lawman, right? What do you call it, Mike? What's that line you use about President Trump?
I use a bunch of them. Lawman.
No. There's a line that you. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But like, say,
Chief Commander in Chief. Sorry.
And it's to do with the law. He is the number one kind of lawman in the United States. Yes, which means civil and criminal, and he has a duty. He swears an oath to do that, to apply the law as well. I don't know. I can't remember the president's oath, but I'm pretty sure that it's in there. And then the FTC, their job is, and remember, they're kind of put in position by the president and confirmed by Congress So if they've been put in there to do a job and they're not doing their job, it is his job to sort that out, because their principal mission is the enforcement of civil, which is non-criminal, antitrust law. Yeah. And the promotion of protection of the public. So maybe it's interesting that this is going on right now, because you've got the purchase of, is it Warner Brothers? No,
Yeah, by
is it Warner
Netflix or
Brothers?
Paramount. Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, President Trump made a comment, as in, like maybe it's too much of a monopoly if Netflix take it over. Yes, and yet their bid was accepted, and Netflix have been promoting that, but now Paramount have come with another bid, which I think that they're allowed, but they're taking it to the shareholders. So they've said we're going to come up with 100 billion. Now, who's Paramount? Paramount is Ellison, who is the son of Larry Ellison of Oracle, right? And remember that this includes like CNN, a whole heap of media. And I think it was last week or the week before, I said, it looks like the media landscape, the ownership is actually changing. But the question is, it has to be looked at whether it would give Netflix too much of a monopoly. Yes, given their size and their share of the market at the moment in film and television. And then you got to look at who's running Netflix. Who's on the board of Netflix. Is it the Obamas and Paul Ryan and people
Susan
like
Rice.
that? Do you see what I mean? So I think this is really, really getting interesting now. And as far as the it might not be antitrust, but it's got to be like something to do with monopolies. And I don't know whether the FTC are the ones that look at monopolies, because that has to be looked at with Netflix. That has to be assessed and that has to be reviewed, as to whether the deal will actually go through.
Not bad for an 80-year-old
So
man,
it's-
huh?
Yeah.
Plastic surgery.
Yeah, you can see it. He's looking a bit like that.
What other things does Larry Ellison also own, like the data company?
Oracle,
So
which is huge. A lot of government contracts, and also don't forget he was put in charge of or on some kind of committee that's running TikTok.
Oh God!
So you were mentioning
very. Go on.
You were mentioning earlier Tina Peters, and they're trying to, I think, use or possible use would be using like one of the EOs 13848, I believe, was foreign interference in an election. Now, Larry Ellison, could he somehow be falling into this category, considering he's like the owner of a lot of our data, and what he's done in the past has kind of opened this up? Or is he like a good guy? I'm not sure. There's a lot of questions about him. So
Larry Ellison is very much involved in Israel. Larry Ellison has been pushing for ID cards in the UK. Remember, he's very chummy with Tony Blair, and it was Tony Blair's son who's running the company that's supposed to implement the ID cards. And he gave the Tony Blair Foundation, I think it was 200 odd million or something, to try and push this through. And that's why we've got the issue of the ID cards.
Trump and company
I-
has
I've
to
been-
know all about all this. So what's the play here? You think?
Yeah, but you know, Mike, I'm kind of this week I did a lot of investigation into Epstein. Yes, the old Epstein, the thing that's not of interest. Let me tell you, it is just humongous, and I think that, like, say, I'm sure Larry Ellison came into my research as well, but I think everything that everybody's bringing up about Epstein is a deflection from what is the most interesting, and that is how so many countries and people were involved with this guy who was an arms dealer and a money mover. Yes? And I think that's why we're getting all of this deflection. I really, really do. And they're just not going into it. You know, it's like, it's not just Israel, it's England, it's the military industrial complex, it's the CIA, it's probably includes the Pentagon, you know, and it's just like, and all of these people were involved in this, you know, like Bill Gates and stuff like that, you know, they're going, oh, well, he was just a minute and all of that kind of thing. It's like, no, this guy was like, oh my God, you know. And I can't remember where Larry Ellison came in, because I needed to write some notes and I didn't write some notes. But I just followed this whole trail of what is it that people are deflecting away from, you know? And I don't care what anybody else says, it is interesting. And there's a lot of stuff in there that has not kind of come to bear as yet. Whether it ever will, I don't know, because it's deep. It's so deep. It's hard to come out of, you know. But it involves a lot of the tech companies as well, and a lot of the technocrats too. You know, they're all involved with Epstein, and this is what I'm saying. It's like, you know, it's got to be looked into. But all of these companies are kind of working with the government and doing these huge things. I don't know. I think I just don't know how. Go on.
You're gonna love this one, because as you just before you said the word technocrats, I was typing into the chat, and here's what I typed. Anyone, literally as you were saying this, I was typing this. Anyone watch the video that I dropped a link for about, quote, who is Yoshi Nakamoto? And I said, was bankers versus technocrats? If you watched, thoughts, question mark. And so at the end of that whole story, basically, it's like some people are going to have to be in charge at the end of the day, right? And so the way that this guy laid it out, and I'm not saying he's 100% correct, but I'm saying that story was extremely believable, right? And so at the end of the day, is basically what he's saying is that it is the bankers versus the technocrats at the end of the day. So the people that are doing, you know, the banking and the fiat currency and that and the other, versus what looks like the up and coming technocrats. And I don't know, you know, who fits into what position and where, of course, but it seems like pretty spot on as to that's what could be going on.
Yeah, and you know, somebody like Epstein was very interested in how he could move money around the world, and all these other people were interested in how he could move money around the world for them, including arms. And then something else came up this week where I think it was the Trump sons. One of them had said that JP Morgan closed down their account. Jamie Dimon came right out to the media, big interview, to say that no, they didn't close down any accounts. But they do close down any accounts for suspicious activity and all of that kind of thing. So then I was like, but hold on a minute, you didn't close down Epstein's accounts regarding suspicious activity when it was brought up by your own staff. Do you see what I mean? And then I was like, well, I wonder if he did Hunter Biden's accounts. And it's like, yes, he did. So there's stuff going on. I'm just like, I'm probably only scratching the surface, but I don't believe it's as cut and dried between the bankers and the technocrats. Why? Because bankers just always want to make money, and they'll make money however they can make money. Do you see what I mean? So if there's a shift, then just like the bankers kind of a few years ago all set up like Bitcoin investment platforms, where they own the Bitcoin and you give them money that they invest in Bitcoin, and they'll give you a certain percentage back, but they own the Bitcoin. So, to me, that's just a good example of them getting involved. And then they need the technocrats, because they need the technocrats for the technology to be able to bring banking into the 21st century. Yes? And what's been happening is the technocrats, they've been providing all of this financial technology. They kind of went across the finishing line before the banks, and the banks are now trying to catch up because the banks didn't feel like they needed to do it just yet. Like the public, they like to control how we operate as the public. And that's what's happened. So the fintech companies, the financial technology companies, they've been getting banking licenses, and they've been trouncing the banks as far as new business is concerned. You'll find that in a lot of companies. Like the largest, the fastest growing bank in South Africa is a digital bank. And the fastest growing banks are the digital banks, which are using the digital technology. Yes?
Hey, Lisa.
But the banks, go on.
Question in the chat, and I think, yes. Blackfoot 6X5 said, of England, night, Bill?
Yes, she sure did. She sure did. He was a counselor. He was an advisor to the royal family. And this is what I'm saying. It's like, you've got all these instances. There was, like Epstein, he had a business partner. His last name was Lease. He was like British. He ran a British company. He did a Ponzi scheme. He got, I don't know if it was him who got jailed for it. Somebody got jailed for it. But that's where they say Epstein's money came from. Now, remember that this guy was British, had a British company, and it was a Ponzi scheme, and it all went belly up, and it was the biggest one before Bernie Madoff. Yes? And that's where Epstein got his money from, but it was being run in England. So, Epstein, England, Mossad, America, he was all over the place. And I'm just going, you know what? I do feel that there is a cover-up. I'm sorry. I disagree with everybody. There's a huge cover-up with Epstein. Huge. And it's like, well, why aren't they looking at it in this way? And even Jamie Dimon, like, oh well, we only shut down accounts when there's something funny going on, and it's like, yeah, but you never shut down any of Epstein's accounts, you never shut down Hunter Biden's accounts, and yet you've done what's it called, special access something, loads of special access, so loads of things flagged about Hunter Biden's accounts at J.P. Morgan, no less. Yeah. Do you not think that there's something going on?
Yeah, 100%.
And then
what?
Go on.
I was just thinking earlier today, and it was about Epstein, him being in the Panama Papers, because we know how much that was. And I guess there was the additional leak was Paradise Papers, and he's mentioned in the Paradise Papers. And I just feel like we got little bits and pieces of the puzzle, and it's very big, like you said, and it's interwoven into many different things.
Yeah.
and I even think technology is part of that.
It's huge part, Mike. Huge.
Yeah, I mean,
he was
but like,
hugely into it.
yeah, like hidden technology and stuff. Some weird stuff. I know he was into trying DNA, but also he was into anti-gravity. There's a bigger portion to this. I'm not sure that we've been able to
He was
uncover
into
yet. You may have.
he was into surveillance as well, big time. You know, surveillance technology. You know, who's the biggest surveillance technology? Palantir? Okay. You know,
Don't like that one at all.
30 governments and stuff like that. But the question is whether he actually worked with these people or whether he and others like Ehud Barak, you know, covered up Epstein's involvement. Yes, there's also that to consider, because there is at least one case that I've read of where Ehud Barak did a deal with somebody, but he covered up Epstein's involvement. Yes, so that the other person did not know. Yeah. But
By
anyway,
the way,
go on.
At the bottom of the chat, they shot big news, something that we were looking for, having to do with Epstein.
Yay, and looks like I'm going to be needing a new mic, and I do understand if I look away from the mic, it's not going to hear me as good, but I literally just had to unplug it and plug it back in for it to work. So it looks like this one's on the fritz, and we will be ordering a new one very, very shortly, like as the show here. But let's see what we got here. Today, fresh? Well, let's see.
It was from the 5th.
Oh, yeah. We still have it. I mean... so it's from the Southern District of Florida, which is great, right? Order granting motion to unseal, which is pretty weird, right? Grand jury transcripts. You usually don't get to see the grand jury stuff, but obviously this is a huge case. So this stuff is going to be unsealed. Who's pursuing? I'm just trying to see all unclassified records, documents, communications, and investigative materials in the possession of the Department of Justice that relate to Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. So that's interesting right there too, guys, right? Like, is this going to hide a little bit of the information that we don't want hidden? Let's see, where was it? Right here, all unclassified records. So probably classified stuff in there, right? And then you ask yourself, why would there be classified stuff in there, Lisa? We're talking about
Iran-Contra.
Yeah, I know. I'm just setting you up on this one, but like, Lisa, wait, why would there be classified information in a rape case? This is just Jeffrey Epstein taking advantage of young women with his not his handler, his assistant Ghislaine Maxwell. So why all this stuff about classified material? I don't get it. Wink, wink.
Yeah, because I think that we've been we've been steered towards just looking at what he was doing with the underage people, yes, and the sexual side of it. But for me, that provides a lot of cover, because it goes back to like Reagan and the Iran-Contra and all of that. So there's a lot of dirty laundry that's got to come out regarding Epstein, because that Iran-Contra, it's like, well, that's an old one, but it's like, yeah, it's an oldie but goodie, because we still don't know, but I know that he was involved in that without a doubt. I can't remember, is it Ari Ben or something like that? But anyway, there was somebody that was dealing with Epstein, and he's already given his verdict on it. But I think it goes all the way back to Reagan, all the way back to Reagan.
All right, let's move along here, because there's not much more on this one right now, but we'll see what they give us, and remember, we were not part of that group of quote journalists that were brought to the White House to get nothing, and being told that it was new Epstein material. So keep that in mind and keep note of who that was. So let's move on to something else interesting. Geez, I think I'm gonna do this in a specific way. I'm gonna do this one, and then you guys may or may not understand why I'm doing it. I think most of you guys here will, but the norm won't. Let's see. So I thought this was interesting, and this is kind of this is earlier today. He posted this at 5:23. Ron DeSantis, effective immediately. Florida is designated the Muslim Brotherhood and the Council on American Islamic Relations, or also known as CARE, as foreign terrorist organizations. Florida agencies are hereby directed to undertake all lawful measures to prevent unlawful activities by these organizations, including denying privileges or resources to anyone providing material support. I believe, these people should be it should be this not worldwide, well, probably worldwide, but countrywide for sure. So I don't know if you had any comment. Actually, you know what? Let me just go on to the next one here, guys, because we can talk about them both at once here. Drop you this one here, and then putting 1 and 1 plus 2 together here. Who is this guy? And Lisa, I'm giving you a very short window of surroundings, but I'm doubting Lisa's going to know exactly where this was. But it's London, apparently. Got Barry again out in London. What's he doing out in London? That looked a little AI
Wow.
too. If I'm not selling you, that looked a little weird, didn't it? His mouth right there looked a little weird.
Well, you've got all the stuff going on. Well, but I think it's timely. It's timely because if you think about what's going on with the Ukraine, yes, and in 2013, 2014, it was Barack Obama who funded the labs in the Ukraine, and basically. What's her name? Victoria Nuland. Remember all that? Remember they got rid of, is it Poroshenko, and then put Zelensky in there. They did the deal with Monsanto, as in we'll give you money, Ukraine, as long as you do a deal with Monsanto and take their GM crops and all of that kind of thing. And that's where really, the American government got their claws into the Ukraine. Lots of people were operating in the Ukraine, but did McCain go over to the Ukraine? I'm not sure, but I think it's and given where we are with the peace deal between Russia and the Ukraine, and it seems that NATO, Europe, they're putting the old kind of spike in the works. Every time Zelensky, something like this comes up, the next thing he's in London, and he's in London right now. So, and at the moment he's been meeting with Keir Starmer, UK PM, Macron, President of France, and we've got Obama in London as well. And we've got Merz, is it? Is he the one who's running Germany or something?
Yep.
But they're scared. They're scared. They're scared of a peace deal, and they're doing everything that they can to not allow it to happen. Because and I think there's talk that the Ukraine, they're saying that the Ukraine should get, I think it's 100 billion that Euroclear, which is like a kind of clearing bank in Europe, is holding using sanctions, and that's Russia's money. And they want to give that money to the Ukraine. And it's like, we know about all of the corruption in the Ukraine, so why would you want to give them more money just like that, And Zelensky is obviously controlled, and he, I think, visited Ireland like the other day, asking for money. He does his charity thing. But, I think there's something going on with that. The Ukraine is important to them. And also the attack on Russia is important to them as well,
Huge.
Or Russia, the threat of Russia invading like England and all of that kind of thing. And it's like never gonna happen. Never gonna happen. Nobody's threatened that, but that's what they're talking about, you know? And I think they're going to use it to try and put together a European army or rearm Germany.
Oh
Yeah.
boy. And you're 100% correct. Not only was John McStain, we don't say his name for a reason, over in Ukraine during the Color Revolution, but actually he was there making a speech, and he was, quote, defending democracy, guys. I think I have this music. So, people of Ukraine, this is your moment. You need to go do whatever. You deserve more than this. And then all of a sudden, we had a new leader in Ukraine.
But didn't he? Have I got this right? Didn't he meet with the Muslim Brotherhood or something like that?
Oh yeah, he's all over the drop. So hell yeah,
yeah. So we can see how this is coming together, because, how do you attack America? Well, you've got the Nazis in the Ukraine, yes. You've got the Muslim Brotherhood, who Obama kind of brought in. You've got George Clooney, dropped a boo-boo the other day saying about his wife representing Muslim Brotherhood. That was fantastic. I don't know if she's banned from the US at the moment. A male.
Remember these pictures? Remember all of the... Oh, look, who's that?
Yeah.
Oh, geez, who's that guy? I think this one ended up being fake, something like that. I think there were ended up people. I don't remember. I remember one of them turned out to be, fake. See, that one was the fake one with Osama bin Laden. See, I still got it off the memory. I didn't see that, but I remembered that one was fake. These, however, are not. Remember Stalker Moaz? He was good friends with this guy right here. Good friends with Paul Ryan, and a lot of pictures with him and Paul Ryan. And then, hey, what they made for a notation here is like, wow, these guys are really close to a sitting U.S. senator with no apparent security around him. Like, one of these guys could slit his throat, essentially, right?
And they use the guise of the media. Notice the guy has a camera. So they use it under the guise of media to talk and probably make some shady deals.
This one was not fake.
And then isn't there an investigation at the moment regarding all of that money kind of appropriated from Minnesota as to whether any of it went to terrorist organizations?
Keith Ellison. Now we're talking about the Ellisons today. Larry earlier of Oracle, and Keith Ellison of Minnesota. He was meeting with a lot of these people as well, and these drops left and right as well. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, haven't seen this one posted. Photographer included here. Yeah, sure. He looks like a regular photographer.
That guy looks like the Arabian Mike Lindell in the middle, right next to McCain.
Hey, come buy our towels. They're really absorbent. They're great. Yes, you will like this. Buy one, get one free today. Use code SpaceShot76, okay? That's how, but that is Syria, and these people, like it mentions here, like, oh, he's a freedom fighter. He was the executive director of the Emergency Task Force. Terrorist, sorry.
And the I can't remember what terrorist group he's the leader of, but anyway, this guy has been spending is the new leader, and he's been spending a lot of time in Somalia, and he lived in Britain and left his wife, and children, and went off to Somalia, and he's head of some huge terrorist organization. But I was just thinking about, what's been going on in Minnesota and the Somalians and all of that. I just wonder. What's really going on. Do we really understand all the connections?
Who this guy
I don't think we do quite yet. Someone said, what was it, 90% of... I have it written down here. 90% of Obamacare were fake accounts.
It's gonna be bad, dude. It's gonna be.
Yeah, I'll find this clip. Let me see if I can find it. But I mean, the fraud's just insane. it's going to be jaw dropping at the very least.
Yeah, and didn't Tim Walz kind of relax the rules so that they could get the money out quickly as well? You know?
Obama, Muslim Brotherhood, Muzzy for sure. That's 100%. Always more to this. Do a funny right now. Oh, you know what? I'm gonna show, while Matt grabs that next one here.
Look at the Tim Walz thing.
We'll definitely get to that one. Christmas night. President Trump, he surprised staff of the White House. I guess they were. Sorry, Space Shot. Just so the clips wouldn't. Or just so the.
Many of you have been with me from the beginning, including the first term, and we love you all. And I just want to wish you a Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year, Happy Hanukkah, the whole ball game.
Merry Christmas. We can say it again. Not like I ever stopped saying it, but how ridiculous was it? Oh, you can't say Merry
You're
Christmas.
Not shamed into feeling bad for saying it. How about that?
Dude, there was a woman at the store the other day. We were like in the same aisle and we were talking about our kids and stuff. And I was like, oh, good to talk to you, Merry Christmas. And she's like, oh, nice to talk to you. Happy holidays. And I heard her say it to somebody else later. I'm like, okay, yeah, she doesn't like to say Merry Christmas. Like, I'm not going to push her buttons or whatever. But yeah, good to see President Trump, showing up there and meeting with the staff of the Christmas party there, saying, hey,
I found the article at the
this one here.
Yeah, the subsidies granted without documentation.
And just, we're not going to play. I think we played it already. If not, I played it on another show. But here's what Lisa was talking about, where talking to George Clooney. And she says, yeah, George Clooney says, yeah, so anyways, my wife helped draft the constitution of the Egyptian Muslim Brotherhood in 2012 after the revolution. Huh? Okay, no big deal. It's like, what? Okay, that's cool. Let's see. So from about 4 or 5 days ago, Obamacare subsidies granted without documentation to 90% of fake accounts set up by government watchdog. Affordable Care Act subsidies have been granted without the required documentation to 90% of fictitious applicants over the last 2 years. No fucking that. According to a damning government watchdog report released Wednesday, the Government Accountability Office preliminary findings of ongoing and covert testing of Obamacare found fraud risks in the federal ACA marketplace, specifically related to the healthcare program's advanced premium tax credit, a subsidy Democrats shut down the government over last month in a failed effort to extend the tax credit for 3 more years. Quote, the federal marketplace approved coverage for nearly all of GAO's fictitious applicants in plan years 2024 and 2025, generally consistent with similar GAO testing in plan years 2014 through 2016, according to the government watchdog. So it looks like they set up legitimately, they went out of their way, Mac, to set up fake accounts, right, with fake people that didn't have the proper documentation just to see if they would get the service, and they did, right? Or 90%?
Yeah, so it shows the scheme here. Like, instead of helping people, this is set up to take advantage of American taxpayer money. So it's easily fraudulent, It's crazy. We all knew it from the start, but no, we had to do it.
Yeah, so that fits with, people being given social security numbers and signed up for social security and benefits and stuff like that. Remember, there was a department that were just doing that for illegal migrants and stuff like that. And then you can think about, illegal vaulting, and it's huge. It's absolutely huge. And then you can think about funneling that money to some terrorist organizations. Yes?
Yep.
That's what I think they've been, that's what I think
100%.
President Trump is doing, right, Mac? I mean,
yeah.
I think he's taking out the
correcting
funding, right? He's taking out the funding of what these people can use against us, essentially.
Yeah, he's taking out the middlemen. He wants to give it. He keeps saying it, the money directly to the people and around the insurance companies, and then the people can go decide on what insurance they can. It's essentially, from what it sounds like, taking it back to before Obamacare. We'll probably call it Trump Care, which is great with me. But there will be, an obvious plan to help out, the healthcare people that need it, that can't afford it, and everything like that. And it's not going to be fraudulent.
Let's do a little. I'm gonna play a little. About a minute, maybe half. So I'm gonna play this boys' room here. But this is labeled. There's always more to the story. It's 2 minutes and I'll playing sound. Nope.
She was in the car with her boyfriend who was here illegally. They were stopped. She refused to comply with ICE officers or give any identification. She was briefly detained, and then once she gave identification and they were able to confirm who she was, they released her immediately. Next.
This morning, a GMA exclusive, the 19-year-old college student detained by ICE while trying to visit her family for Thanksgiving, then deported against a judge's order, now speaking out.
It's been hard.
She's had an active deportation order against her since 2015. She has evaded law enforcement by ignoring appeals processes, and DHS emphasized that she received full and due process back then, but chose to stay undocumented. Next.
ICE agents held their 5-year-old daughter outside their home to get her father to surrender.
Her dad was in the country illegally and had charges against him like strangulation and domestic abuse. He was evading officers, went to go run and hide in the woods, and left his daughter, totally abandoned her. ICE officers just wanted to make sure that she was okay and safe, as she was an abandoned child. We cannot hate the mainstream media enough. I am not being dramatic when I tell you that every single story like this that you see that the news reports on, there's always more to the story. They will headline something. They will try to push a narrative that is objectively false, that is omitting key pieces of information for the public to know. 10 out of 10 times, without fail, every single anti-ICE video that you see, anti-ICE story that you see is omitting key details. They are not telling you the truth. They're trying to push a narrative to spread fear because the Democrats have to have these votes in order to win. It's their voter base.
Well, I think that pretty much proves that point, right? I mean, a lot of these videos, if not everyone I've seen so far, is missing context to it, right? It's always like, oh, they just came up and smashed the window and yanked me off and took me out of here. Complete bull stuff. And this obviously is part of what we do, right? And we have obviously people on the other side are Democrats, and again, I look to this and I say, why is it every time they have to go out of their way to fake things to make him or the Democrats to make the Republicans look so bad? Everything they do, they have to edit and fake and polish up. They can try to polish up a turd, but at the end of the day, it's still going to stink. Any thoughts on that, Mac, Lisa? Anybody there still?
Yeah, there was a story that I saw, and it was like this lady saying, "Oh, my husband's been arrested and he's been deported, and he's here. He came here on a visa," and it's like, yeah, and his visa ran out years ago. And then, so now the whole town's getting together a GoFundMe to try and, mount a defense and all of that kind of thing. And it's like, he was here illegally, even if he did come here on a visa, he had all of that time to sort out his citizenship, and he didn't. And it's like, yeah, but he teaches the local team, the school team football, and is a good member of the community and all of that. And it's like, yeah, but he was still here illegally. But they don't mention that. They just say he came here on a visa. And it's like, I looked into it, and it's like, yeah, your visas run out. They're not forever. No green card, no nothing. And it's like, it's anyway. They're kind of. Their game is over, and they need to accept it. And really what we're hearing is just that they don't want to accept it. And isn't it Mandami that's wants to bring in some kind of, I don't know, kind of schooling the illegal migrants how to deal with ICE and stuff like that. And it's like, there's a due process there, mate. There's no dealing with ICE. You know what I mean? I think ICE will deal with you. But then there is, there is, I can't remember what place it is. I've been so busy. I can't take notes anymore. But like there's one guy who killed somebody, and he's been deported twice by the Trump administration, somewhere between 2016 and 18, and then again, and then he came back he was allowed back into the country, and he's just recently killed somebody. You know.
Big surprise.
And in the UK, we've got 2 illegal migrants. They raped a young schoolgirl, got them drunk, gave them loads of drugs and stuff like that. They've just been sentenced to 10 years and 9 years.
I saw that because the other guy was younger, right? He got like 2 months less or something. It was ridiculous. He got like 9 years and 10 months because he was younger.
Yeah. but it's out of control. It's absolutely out of control. And we've got somewhere called Crowborough in the UK, where they're going to put 600 illegal migrants. It's an old like army barracks or something, and they're going to put 600. And I think the town has something like 12,000 people. Yeah, 600 altogether, and there's no restrictions for them at all. And obviously the schools are nearby and stuff like that. We've had lots of cases where like schoolgirls have been abused by illegal migrants, and their excuse is that they don't understand. And in that case that we just mentioned with the 2 guys who raped the girl, the judge said, they do understand consent. And it's true. It doesn't matter what language you speak, what culture you come from, you understand consent. Yes?
Yeah.
So there is no excuse.
Right? Wasn't the girl saying like, "Oh, you're gonna rape me" or something? And I'm like, well, why did she? I don't know if they pulled her into the woods, but apparently she was talking with friends, and 2 of these boys pulled her into the woods and forced her to do oral sex.
What happened was they got them drunk and drugged up, and they isolated her from the group, and people heard her screams. And I think they've got a recording of her screams and what she was saying,
Absolutely disgusting. It's so you gotta, unfortunately for the people, you have to watch your kids even more. It's like, oh, I'm gonna go out with my friends. I mean, to be honest with you, Lisa, if I had a daughter, even my son, he's like, oh, I'm gonna go hang out with my friends, like in that area where I know what's going on, I would be like, no, you're not. I'm sorry. Like, my job is to keep you alive, and I don't want, you might not have fun tonight, staying in the house, but you'll be alive.
Well, that's the people's argument, because the people are not protected. And then at the same time, there's kind of favoritism given, really, Yeah. People are not protected. There's nobody to protect the people at all. And people are genuinely scared, and they're scared for a good reason. They're scared for a good reason, because there have been crimes committed, and they're deadly. They're not just ordinary crimes. We had that soldier Rigby, where the guy just put a machete, he like beheaded him in the street. We had the other guy who kind of killed all those girls. I mean, it's just it's out of control. It's out of control, really. Oh,
it's bad. And just, I'm gonna play this really quick here, Mac. They basically start the video here. I love this. Ready? Watch. The window is smashed already. Like, the start of this video is the window smashed. So they're saying essentially like, oh my goodness, these ICE people just walked up to the car and smashed the window of this car. And I put, great edit. Whoever edited this waited until they had to crack the window. I think they just walked up to the car and immediately smashed the window. Do better, liberal fool. And then somebody in here said that basically they were blocking a car, and they were. I forgot what it was, but they were not complying for one, but also essentially the whole story is right out the window. But of course they do this stuff, right? Like they want to put it to a way to make it look like Trump is like this evil person, and everything his administration's doing is evil, and if you support this, like this person said, you're the opposite of a patriot. You're anti-constitutional. No, sorry. You're illegal. And I think it was something like you were mentioning visas earlier. I think it was her visa was up in like 2015. So you're talking 10 years long on your visa stay. So sorry, not sorry. You gotta go, lady. You gotta go.
Yeah. And if you took advantage of the lax application of the law, then that's your problem. You know what I mean? You took a risk and it didn't really work out. Sorry. You should go.
Oh, you want to see it?
Part of this is just a psychological operation being done against us. People are pushing false narratives. Like the video you showed, I have a video that I posted in the chat. This former FBI or military behavior expert, Chief Hughes, explains it a little bit, and like 3 major ways you can tell. And the fake news media kind of shows it to us every single day.
I could listen to this dude read the ingredients of food. You know what I mean? I don't know. I just like listening to
How do you know?
I like listening to this talk, and obviously he knows stuff from being where he's been in psychological operation. But there was a very good one earlier, and this may be the same one, but I'll let you know if it's not.
If you're in the middle of a psychological operation,
I would just assume 24/7 that we are. But let's go into the details. But
what are the signs that something is a psychological operation specifically?
So narrative sticking points. So matching narrative is number one. A matching narrative means that I'm hearing pretty much the same messaging from media outlets, celebrity influencers, which is number 2, and authority. So people that are in a position of social authority, not like cops and lawyers, and judges, but people in social authority, like pop singers. And I won't say any names. Pop singers, the most popular pop singers, all saying the same shit on social media. That should terrify you to the deepest part of your core, that none of this is real, or none of this is what it seems like. And those are the first 2. Number 3 is if you're seeing people silenced or ostracized for disagreeing with an idea. We saw this during the pandemic, like crazy. There were Harvard-educated medical doctors that were kicked off of social media, which is our greatest fear of human beings, is being ostracized socially. It's greater than death. This is why public speaking is rated higher by almost everybody than death. And it's not public speaking that we're afraid of. It's being out there and having a big idea and then getting rejected by a large crowd. That's what terrifies human beings. And you can leverage the shit out of that, especially when you can manufacture an artificial tribe on social media. So Harvard-educated doctors that disagreed with this mainstream narrative were getting banned. And the dude, I can't remember his name. I wish I could. But the dude who invented mRNA vaccines was on there and went against the narrative and got ostracized. The dude who invented this kind of vaccine, it's unbelievable. So and that step 3, just remember in your mind that if an idea requires suppression to exist, it's a horrible idea, and it's most likely a psyop. Good ideas don't need to suppress other people. Good ideas travel on their own. Good ideas spread on their own. It doesn't need suppression by itself.
Well, geez, that sums up the last 10 years, right?
I think we experienced number 3 big time, huh?
3. Authority?
Well, the manufacturer tribes on
Suppression.
social media.
Oh,
Ostracize.
yeah, ostracize if you disagree with the narrative. I mean, just think about that for a second. What he said about Robert Malone, the guy who invented that type of medicine that they decided they wanted to guinea pig us with. Like, he came out and he was like, hey, no. This is a bad idea to put into humans. And they were like, this guy doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. He's evil. It's like, that is some scary stuff. And, we're over here screaming from the rooftops like, what the hell? Like, and so we see it, and I think a majority of our audience also sees it as well, but it's the other sleeping people. I hate to keep referring to them as sleeping or normies, but I don't know how they don't see this stuff. Like, I don't know what is it in their DNA or their makeup that makes them so different from us that they can't see the very obvious things that we see. It dumbfounds me.
They've got to realize that something's being done, and then they got to learn to identify them. I don't know. Sometimes it can be just like a given. A lot of people have that innate kind of sense, like, this doesn't make sense. But other people, I think, for whatever reason, have to learn to do it, or they're really, really just not going to be able to come around.
Yeah, Lisa,
I think it's.
I don't like the way that guy made that post. Or what Trump or Obama or Biden said. Oh wait, what's the score of the football game? And that's kind of the distraction thing. I think is a lot of it, but maybe it's just a common sense problem as well.
I liked what he said about manufacturing a tribe on social media.
Oh, yeah.
Because I see that a lot. That's my big bugbear. Because people don't want to stand out and they don't want to go against the grain, and these platforms, that's what they do. That's what they do. Dig a little deeper, people. And when I noticed that, to start some, it's like when something goes viral, often it's dealt with in. I notice that there's something going on because they deal with one thing in isolation, and they don't deal with all of the other things that are attached to it. Do you see what I mean? That's how I believe, like, say, narratives are controlled, and they do a good job of focusing everybody's attention on one thing and then ignoring everything else. And people are quick to jump on those types of viral. Well, they just go viral because nobody wants to kind of go, no, that's not true. That's a big influencer. And it's like, well, so what? I'm allowed to disagree with that person. But we don't feel like we should disagree. Or maybe you're going against the grain, you're going against the crowd. But who cares? I don't.
Yeah.
I don't. I'd love to kind of turn something on its head and look at it like from another angle or another direction and get more information, instead of just going along with the crowd. And there is crowd psychology. If a crowd is moving in one direction, then people feel that they got to move in that same direction. But, you don't have to. You can stand still. You can have a good look around. I say have a look around. Cryptic canal, but have a look around.
Culture, you nailed something that we experienced culturally growing up, is like the social cool class, the nerds, everything like that. And then the trying to even the playing field in the social culture, and just the play on that. Do you guys understand what I mean? Like, to be cool, you had to dress a certain way, talk a certain way, do certain things. And if you weren't, then you fit into another category. Maybe you played sports, maybe you were in the band, but they've categorized us even from a young age. And that to me was a psyop.
Yeah. So, jock,
people,
popular.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's part of conditioning, Mike. Rather than somebody categorizing you, not you personally, but people categorize themselves or want to become part of that tribe. They want to fit in. They're scared to stand on their own. I was never that person that wanted to fit in with anybody. It's like, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm going to do. And I really don't care. I've been like that my whole life. I don't want to be part of tribes. I don't feel a need to be accepted in that way, And I'm really glad that I grew up like that, Whatever I wanted to wear, that's what I wore when I was ready,
Yeah, I think
Not
we all
wearing the
kind
same
of
as everybody
probably
else.
were in that same boat, but I'm saying culturally that's what they pushed on us. And we kind of got influenced in the way. Then fast forward it to today where you have to be woke to be cool, or used to be, during the Biden era, everything woke was being pushed. If you weren't woke, then you weren't cool. So
And
that's
you
the
weren't,
cultural
yeah.
influence that they were trying to push on us, and they were trying to use as the years went on. It's crazy.
Still the same today. Still the same today, When you think about it, what he said about the media, they're all pushing the same thing. It's like, and then when it comes to the pop singers, oh, these people are the cool ones,
The
dressed
athletes,
like a
the
slut.
rappers, the Swifties of the world.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Well, I mean, it's true though. I mean, you guys, and I was trying to look it up here and show you, but I'm sure you guys have all seen this example of social experiments where people get into an elevator and everybody else in the elevator is turned the other way, and then the person in the elevator looks around and he's like, everybody's turned the other way, so what do I do? I should probably turn the other way. And so they do, right? And then there's another one with a doctor's office where a bell goes off, and so the woman walks in, there's like 6 or 7 people seated, and then a bell goes off. And when the bell goes off, everybody except for the new person that walked in, who's not in on it, the one person by themselves not in on it, everybody else stands up and sits back down. And then by the end of it, they're all gone. He's the only one that's not in on it. The bell's going off. He's standing up. And then you have new people. I don't know if they were in on it or not, but he's basically telling them, like, I don't know, like, everybody else was doing it. That's why I'm doing it now. And the same thing with another experiment about a line on a sheet of paper, which is, oh, put A, B, or C. Which line is the longest? Where clearly C was the longest, but everybody that was in on it, which were the 10 people before the last woman who was not in on it, they all wrote A, and C was the correct answer. And then she walks up to it, and because everybody else wrote A, he put A, right? And then you did have a few people that were like, no, that's stupid. Like, this is C. All right, but everybody else did it. And he was like, well, I don't really care what everybody else thinks. But a majority of people will do it, right? They'll fall in line with that stuff. And it's kind of sad, actually.
It boils down to people are happy to just be sheep, going along with everybody else or going along with what they're told to do. And I'm not saying like, you should kind of not or go against authority and stuff like that. I'm just saying, like, generally how people lead their lives, they're happy to just rub along to get along to go along.
Go along to get along. Yeah, no, that's it. Go along
I think people want to trust the system that it works. I think that's the underlying theme.
True. They want to believe everything, and that's the thing is, I think most people believe that. You know what I mean, Lisa? Like, most people believe, like, or used to anyway. I think our government probably has our best interest in mind, and I think a lot of us before we woke up probably never gave it two thoughts. You don't know if most of you guys thought, yeah, the government's doing the right thing or the government's not doing the right thing. But before I got into any of this stuff, I never really gave it too much thought, other than the quote conspiracy theories that I was looking into that always seem to prove out. Don't blame me. The conspiracy theories came true. All right.
Well, I remember like parents' generation where it was like the doctor was like God. Yes. So anything that the doctor says, you do, and that's the way that they were presented. But this is before, let's say, access to a lot of information. So, like our parents, they had access to a lot less information. So I can understand it there. But now, when people do have access to information, it's like, take it on board and use it,
Let's go along to, we talked about it last week, And so thank you to Texas Tan Girl. Dropped a $20 Rumble rant. Says, here's a little cheer to help buy that new microphone. Blessings. So thank you for that. And guys, so we know that Texas, and I think there was another state as well, they're going to be redistricting, or they have agreed to redistrict certain things. And that puts Miss Jasmine Crockett out on her fake rear end. But she's got another little quote here I thought was interesting. And remember, guys, we are not the racist ones. We are not the racist ones. Remember that.
They try to act like, oh, political violence, it's the Democrats and it's the liberals. And it's like, actually, I mean, I'm not going to say that like a left-leaning person cannot be violent, because that would be like crazy to say that somebody can't be. But baby, y'all got the white supremacists galore, okay? Like all of them. You got the Proud Boys. You got the neo-Nazis. You have people that literally should be classified as domestic terrorists, because a lot of times that is what they are doing. They are engaging in domestic terrorism. And guess what? They all align with your side. Yeah. Including the KKK. So like, I mean, this is who aligns with that. So like inherently in like who you are, y'all are violent. Like y'all, and most of your violence has to do with people that's got a little bit of melanin. But nevertheless, like y'all are a violent group of people. Like you attract violent actors. And like, I'm sorry, I know they try to make Black Lives Matter out to be the most violent. What about Black Lives Matter? No. So that's the thing. Like they try to pretend like that.
I thought that said something different, to be honest with you. I think they maybe did a misspelling, on the title here. But that is going to be your next person running for Senate, guys, in Texas now. So she's now running for Senate. How do you guys like that one? I mean, with her fake ghetto accent. Because remember, she went through a prep school that was like $20,000 a friggin' semester. How's that for white privilege? I went to a regular high school, you know, a city funded or a state funded regular high school that I didn't have to pay my tuition. So I thought that was pretty interesting and kind of a little bit of a funny too with all the ebonics. But she's made it clear she doesn't.
They try to act like, oh, political
own history.
The act is tired and old. It's outdated. It's just she's the racist. No one cares. Like I don't know. Crazy.
Have this thing called the Black Panthers.
I got a funny video for you to play. What's that?
Didn't they have this thing in the past called the Black Panthers that I believe they got pretty violent at certain points too, didn't they? I mean, I just don't want to discount.
They stormed the Capitol, didn't they? Yeah. But yeah, the Black Panthers. Interesting to look at the Black Panthers, you know, but they. One, they were allowed to carry guns, weren't they? Constitutionally.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Were. Okay. They did storm a Capitol, without a doubt. But they were fighting for civil rights, though. You remember?
It was a different world back then. I mean, there was blatant, outright racism, and you know, racist people galore, especially you know in the South, essentially. But you're talking a different time frame now, right? Like that's why I say a lot of times, like these people want you to believe it's 1952 Mississippi around here, which it's not. You know what I mean? It's not the case at all. I feel like people have gotten more civil in certain aspects and less in others. The funny Mac. It looks like a funny. You got a comedian.
I mean, when I see her, I just see fake eyelashes and fake hair. Like last week, she had like 4 foot long hair. I think.
Oh yeah, it was gross. And I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but and this is not me making this up or saying it. I actually watched a documentary on HBO, and it had to do with racism within, not outside of, but within the Black community. And this is going back probably 15, maybe 20 years, essentially. But the crux of the whole thing was the darker skin. And this is not something I did. This is a documentary I watched. The documentary stated that essentially the darker your skin was, the less you were valued in the black community. That's what that documentary said, and it says blatant
Well,
racism.
hold on a minute.
That's what they said.
Hold
Not
on a
me, not
minute.
me.
Yeah, but let's go back to colonialism. You kind of got to look at the root of that, because that's what colonialism did. And let me give you a great example of how that happened in America, where they graded, what was it called? I can't remember. There's a name for it, but basically they graded North American Indians. They said, whether somebody was a half breed, a quarter breed, or this breed, or that breed, that was all down to the color of their skin. And you've got to understand that that type of thing was used to divide people by the colonialists. So it comes from another time, but it's something that was ingrained in communities. So, for example, if back in the day, if somebody had lighter skin, they were treated better by society than somebody with a darker skin. A great example is Meghan Markle. On her model card or acting card, she put that she was white because she looks white. Yes? So you've got to understand where that comes from, Space Shop. Very important. It's down to colonialism and what they used to use to divide people. So basically, if there were slaves and there was somebody that was lighter skinned, remember that they were breeding the people. Yes? So the master slept with the slave. So what color would that person be? They would be lighter because they were whiter. Yes? And that was ingrained in a lot of countries where there was colonialism, and it was used against the people. So it's kind of a throwback from that. So in somewhere like South Africa, the people with the darkest skin were the blacks, and then the lighter skin were called the coloreds, and then there was other people who you couldn't tell whether they were black or not. And then, the British, if we can't fight them, we'll breed them out. So they bred the color out of people. It was a tactic, and then let's go to historically. So take somewhere like Spain that was invaded by the Arabs. No. And the Moors. But
Oh, really?
no, the Moors came there peacefully, but like the Moors were very, very dark. Yes, the Moors were like the royalty of Europe, and they were bred out. Yes, and then the one of the tactics was diluting people. So the Moors, if I remember correctly, they, excuse the terminology, they bred with people that were lighter, and they bred them out. That's how they got rid of them. Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
And they've done that in a lot of different places. That was why there was a lot of rape. They were breeding them out, and that was an English tactic. We can't fight them; we'll breed them out, and that's what they did. Literally, they breed color out. And then I'm sure there's a system, I can't remember the name of it, and they used it because the North American Indians, instead of taking black people as slaves, they took them on as husbands and all of that. So then, they brought in a system that graded people to tell them whether they were North American Indian or not. And that's where you got the half-breed, the quarter-breed, and all of that from. Yes?
Yeah, and same thing that they did in the movie True Romance, where he told the story about Sicily and how they used to be blonde hair and blue eyes, and now they're dark hair, dark eyes. It is because they were invaded by the Moors, and so they basically bred their original DNA out of Sicily anyway, which
yeah,
he got killed.
And you got to see that as a circular thing as well. So like in Spain. There were a lot of Spain as a bit at one stage had a huge Muslim population. Not so much now. Yes.
What was it? All right, let's get a
Yeah.
little. Let's get to this.
So anyway,
comment
that was a
quick.
good point. Anyway,
Very good point. No, I'm glad you.
people should go. The people should look into it. Look into it. It's a thing, a real thing.
The Ari Spears some comedy about eyelashes.
You were all over the media recently for criticizing females with big eyelashes.
Listen, I know white women wear them. I know Hispanic women wear them. But if we being honest, who's the franchise? This shit looks ridiculous. No man has ever said, yo, you know what would make her look hotter? Pterodactyl wings on the face, nigga.
Oh my god. Pterodactyl wings on her face.
It's out of hand. It's out of hand.
That is such a bad look too. It's like, I don't understand who thinks that looks good. Like, I understand wanting to have more full eyelashes if you have like really straggly looking ones or something, but like, that's, like he says, it's out of control.
Lisa mentioned the colonization. I sent down in the chat the new Trump corollary and how it's like re-emphasizing the Monroe Doctrine. And the Monroe Doctrine's the prevention of colonization.
The 32 or 25 page.
I had in that link. Yeah, there you go. It's got the full document.
Yeah, no,
but
this is what I commented on yesterday about NIPSM 7 in the chat. I don't know if this was the same one or not, but I commented on it that they're
But this, yeah, people are saying this doesn't include any new laws, and it's like good, you know. It's literally taking old laws and re-emphasizing them and repackaging them into a new agenda that is a international global plan. It's brilliant, and the main theme is to prevent colonialism, which is the Monroe Doctrine. And we all know who created, like Lisa said, the colonialism, and that would be the royal family in the UK and stuff. So British Empire is probably the better, I guess, terminology. I don't know what to label it. Maybe you guys
but remember the British Empire, they're all related to all of the royalty across Europe. They're all like one and the same. You know.
So that's why I said I don't know what to call it.
Yeah.
This is what I'm talking about. This is what I was talking about. It's something a little bit different than that, Mac, I think. Anyway, pull it up. This guy pulled this up. Basically says, so they're basically saying this right here is the Office of the Attorney General from 4 days ago. Memorandum for all federal prosecutors, law enforcement agencies, Department of Justice grant-making components. Subject: implementing National Security NSP Presidential Memorandum NIPSM 7, countering domestic terrorism and organized political violence. So I just thought, it kind of repeats yourself a few times here, but it says, bottom line, a fact-based debunk. This DOJ memo creates 0 new laws, 0 new crimes, 0 new surveillance powers, 0 authority to investigate political speech, 0 extremist lists, and restates existing domestic terrorism laws and directs the DOJ and the FBI to enforce long-standing statutes. Everything else you heard is noise, spin, and deliberate disinformation. So kind of, it seems to me, Mac, like with that and with this, they're basically wanting to get the country back to, like, how it should be, essentially, right? Like, get back to having some character. We should get back to, being human beings and acting like human beings and not trying to murder each other, and also taking care of the children going forward. I think a lot of, was it this one, National Security Strategy? I think this one was also about a lot of the kids going forward as well.
Yeah, and Tom Homan had a really big announcement. Did you see that one?
I did not.
Do you have that on the docket?
I don't.
Well, whilst you're on this subject, this kind of falls in line with, the EU are very worried because President Trump and his administration are calling out the EU because they're saying what they're doing, they're destroying Europe, but also like messing with national security as well. and they don't like it that they're being criticized, because everything that's happening here is everything that they're not doing in Europe, you know? If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, allowing the illegal migration and not doing anything about it, and protecting those people and stuff like that, and having lax laws, and it's just like, and the violence in Europe it's been increasing like exponentially, and then also think about terrorism as well. So they're allowing all these people who are unvetted to come into the countries and stuff, and the Trump administration is calling them out for it, saying that it's against national security, and you're destroying culture and all of that, and it's true, it's true.
100%.
And then they use the tribalism against people that speak up about it. So if you speak up about it, if you supported Brexit, for example, then you were racist, apparently, Those same old psyops,
Let me pull yours up, Mac. I dropped that down. Then, unfortunately, we're going to have to wrap this.
I look at the numbers.
Bad boy up after here, and I know there's a lot of stuff we didn't get to cover, but it's going to be a familiar theme, guys, because there's just news coming out absolutely all the time now. I'm loving it, and I'm loving where it's going, too. Tom Homan, listen to what Tom Homan here has to say. Very good news.
I look at the numbers every day. On Friday, I looked at the numbers. There's over 62,000 children found by the Trump administration. Children that weren't even being looked for under the Biden administration. President Trump saved over 62,000 children's lives. Some of these children in sex trafficking, we found them. Some were in forced labor. Some were being mistreated. I can't even discuss some of the mistreatment we found out about. President Trump, again, proves why he's the greatest president in my lifetime. Over 62,000 children rescued by President Trump. Again, children that were ignored and weren't being looked for under President Biden.
This is one of the most disgusting things to ever happen. Probably, 2 children alone, because they were dropped off with people who not only didn't pass a background check, but they were not even given background checks. And I'm going to mute it and play the part where he talks about, some of these kids were in forced labor.
Lives. Some of these children in sex trafficking we found.
And then some of them sex trafficked, and then forced labor. And then what? And whatever came to his mind, you can see he clearly didn't like. Right there. So he already said sex trafficked, and then forced labor, and then whatever else that was, some horrible conditions that the kids were in. So great to see. But there are a lot more to go after that, right? And of course, we would like to get every kid back, but I don't think that's attainable. But more is better for sure. Because I don't know, do we even have a number on that stuff, guys, of how many kids came over and then were released to sponsors? I'm going to look that one up. But Mac, that was your clip.
They said it was around 300,000. Was there 350,000 is the mark that they gave us?
Any comments on that thing in there? Or Lisa, go ahead, and then Matt.
No, I just feel like this is one of the biggest focuses that doesn't get covered, and I think we're seeing it more and more of a focus on this, because it's really all about the children. This whole thing is about the attempt to erase everything that is the United States and brainwashing our kids, getting them to go trans, do all kinds of stuff. So this is great news. I am curious to know the result of how many have been killed or murdered or died, but this is positive. So.
Yeah, definitely. And just really quick, Lisa, it says, according to Department of Health and Human Services, from October 2020 to September 24, HHS cared for, and so we don't know how many of these people came over, and maybe there were some before as well, 468,736 unaccompanied migrant children.
Wow.
Yeah, almost 500,000. So you can still add another 400,000 that are out there that, perhaps need to be rescued or whatever. My feeling unfortunately is that a lot of these people or a lot of these kids were left with people they should not have been left with, unfortunately, of course. And we can never let this happen again, which is what President Trump was talking about with the 2020 election. Can't ever let that happen again. And as a direct result, the kids being the direct result of elections have consequences, right? We can never allow them to do what they did, apparently what they did under the Biden administration. So, come to that point. If you want to give any final thoughts or final stories on the way out of here, ladies first, or you can just say farewell, whatever you want to do, Lisa. But we're kind of wrapping it up as we go here. Ooh.
Yeah, I was just thinking, isn't Tom Harmon losing some weight? Or is it me?
Yeah, he looks like a little
he's
bit.
lost
Probably.
some weight.
Yeah, definitely.
See
But,
his neck.
Yeah, there's some interesting things going on in the UK. A nurse just partly won her case because she was asked to share a changing room with a so-called trans man kind of thing. It was a man, basically. And some tribunal just ruled in her favor, which is fantastic because she was suspended from work. Can you imagine that? I don't want to get changed in the same room with somebody who's, got an appendage. And it's like, you suspended. Anyway, she's partially won that case, which is phenomenal. Other than that, watch out for the Supreme Court. I can't remember what I'm waiting for them to rule on.
Tariffs?
There's the tariffs, but there's something else. There's the tariffs. What else is there? There's something else that they're supposed to rule on, which I can't remember. But anyway, yeah, tariffs. Go on, Mike.
No, I think that was the big one, and then they have these other cases that they're about to rule on that I think that we just covered. Whether or not Trump can fire people, and there might be one.
It's a biggie. But anyway, no, I haven't got much to say at the moment. I haven't got much time to look into things, if you've probably noticed. Or I've just gone down a rabbit hole and never come out. But no, great show, and hopefully see everybody next week.
Absolutely will, Mr. Mac, sir.
Hey, great show, always fun. Couple things we didn't get to cover, I'll mention real quick. The Clintons have been ordered to testify about Jeffrey Epstein in December, so they can't apparently escape this one. Anything else here?
Let's hope so, huh?
Yeah, I know. They just keep being slimy, so I don't know. I don't trust it all until it happens. Farmers are getting. What's that?
Did we find out about Comey?
They apparently
and a new indictment.
They tried to recharge one of them, but they basically said it's not over yet. Like they got a little bit of a reprieve, but more is coming, essentially.
Yeah, that's the big hint that more is coming with like the Letitia and James and all them. The farmers just got $12 billion by Trump. I think that was a much needed help they needed. Zelensky just, I think, said he's not going to give up Ukrainian land with this deal. So we'll see where that leads us. Mike Lindell's going to run for governor of Minnesota, apparently.
Hey, maybe he can win if he gets some of those Somalis out of there.
Yeah, and then I don't know if you have the video of Joe Biden's, what he called the United States of America. That was pretty funny.
Did he actually say that? Did he actually get that out? one more thing, just on the farmers. Texas something about a water treaty or something that Mexico have with America. They're supposed to supply certain amount of water or whatever. They haven't done it, and Trump's going to add another 5% on their tariffs if they don't comply, because obviously it's affecting the farmers in Texas.
Ooh, yeah, and you know what? You just brought another one into my memory, which is President Trump talked with President Xi about giving NVIDIA chips, I believe, and they're going to be paying a 25% tariff on that. And I did have that link. Mac. I just had it up a second ago here that you were talking about.
All good.
Here we go. $12 billion for the farmers. And just really quick here on the way out of here. Here's your 71-year-old Secretary of Health and Human. I don't know what the hell he is, but anyways, he did 20 pull-ups at Reagan National Airport. A lot more than I could do, put it that way. And let's see, just really quick on the way out of here. Where is it? Where'd you go, Joe? Oh, here we go. Just remember, guys, this guy was, air quotes, running the United States of America for 4 years. He was running the United States of America.
Just have to get up. As long as we keep the faith, summon hope, and get back up and remember who in the hell we are. We're the United States of America. That's who we are. We're the U.S. There's nothing. I mean, we're just the United States of America. The United States of America. That's who we are.
Mac, you got it? Mara got it?
Mara got it. Mara got it.
Mara got that link for you right here, buddy.
It's like someone was speaking in his ear. He's like, Mara, I got it.
I got it. that sounds exactly.
He's looking more like, I don't know which one it is, Beavis and Butthead, but he's looking more Beavis and Butthead every time I see him. You know, he's got that pinched look to his face, which apparently is a sign of some kind of disease. I can't remember which one. Like dementia or whatever, you know. But his face is looking even more pinched, don't you think?
Oh, he's definitely looking like more and more
smooth.
like Beavis. More smooth.
Yeah, more smooth than Beavis, definitely. And that's just a reminder that all his executive orders and pardons, except for Hunter Biden's, are null and void. So he's essentially a fake president.
Day is gone. I'm loving it. All right, guys. So let me not forget to go. D-Live, thank you to Crow, Deck, P-Dancer, and Patriot. Dropping 50 diamonds into the buckets right back at you guys. Releasing those, and they'll come at you in 8, 7, and counting. We're on the pilled.net, a.k.a. the foxhole.app. Here we go. 7-4 over here, watching over side still. Thank you to Bois Blanc for the can, and Lori P with the ship. It says, thank you for your Monday shows. We love them. Thank you, Lori P. Bois Blanc. And then Tin Man 1295 with the can says, hey, buddy, open a can. Thank you for that, sir. And let us know when you're going to be, unless you have already started your podcasting. We'll send some folks over there. Tin Man 1295 is going to be doing some podcasting as well. And then Good Dog with the can. So thank you for that. And I am releasing the scratchings. And I am also thanking the mods who are absolutely awesome, helping myself and many others out there during these last many years. So your help is greatly appreciated. And me, Mac, and Lisa will, of course, be back next Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Local Time for episode... Uh-oh, guys. It's going to be a murderous episode next week. Episode 187. So... catch us out there, guys, next Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern. Thank you, Mac and Lisa. Great show as usual. And for you guys, we do appreciate each and every last one of you wonderful world patriots out there for tuning in. And until that next one, thumbs up, like, and subscribe. Peace.
Something special is happening in here. That's right, it's brackets and jackets, bringing it back for brackets and jackets. Special Epstein Island edition. That's right, folks, Epstein, Jeffrey Epstein, the man with the island. which is suspiciously close to Haiti. That's right. You see this man, Jeffrey Epstein, is funding lots of people. He's funding lots of people on the street to make sure his shit doesn't get out. That's right. They want the record sealed. And they're paying a lot of people. Epstein's paying a lot of people. Oh boy. For one, he's got a whole Mossad media matrix in America. And I would bet you anything that Alex Jones is one of them. Prove me wrong. That's right, Cappy's in the portal. Cappy's in the portal. Cappy's in the building with songs about Epstein. It's Breakfast Jackets Epstein edition. Guys, I had some epiphanies today. I had some real big epiphanies about some guys. A big network of guys and spies and lies and liars. All right, think about this for a minute, okay? The guy in Portland, the scientist that just got busted for producing CP, that guy is 1 degree of separation away from Epstein. Epstein, the investor that lives in West Palm Beach, Florida. I know a guy who lives in West Palm Beach, Florida as well. Investor as well. Also involved as well. And all is not well with these guys. The Florida boys, the Glow boys, the Scott Israels of the world. You see, Epstein is Hillary Clinton. And Epstein is Haiti. And Epstein is a big network of media assets. By the way, did you know that Steve Bannon was going to that guy for money? Also, Epstein is Epstein Oprah. Epstein is Chris Tucker. You remember him. Epstein is also Kevin Spacey. Epstein is also Prince Andrew. Epstein is also... Who else is Epstein? Who else is Epstein? Tell me. You guys know? Who else is Epstein? Is Epstein Big Pharma? Is Epstein Bryan Singer? Is Epstein Naomi Campbell? Yep, all of the above. All of the above. Who is Epstein? Epstein is the keystone of a whole motherfucking matrix. And once you pull it out, it all falls down. Dersh was there too. That's right, we're dropping red pills every day. Dropping red pills in the best kind of way. This is Brackets and Jackets for the denizens of islands.